Hello everybody. I wanted to do another video today, and I wanted to do one for my YouTube channel, Stop Striving and Start Thriving. And my YouTube channel is for people who are from all walks of life. But particularly for people who suffer from anxiety, depression, PSTD, a lot of that coming from childhood trauma, but not necessarily abuse, and people who feel like they're outliers in life, people who feel like the misfits, so to speak, maybe not necessarily because of something you've done, but simply because of your background and how you've been treated in the past. And this channel isn't meant to wallow in self-pity or anything like that, but it's a perspective on how to cope with these different issues that a lot of us deal with in being outsiders or in experiences with rejection and things like that. Also, this channel is for people who are HSPs, and an HSP is someone who is called a highly sensitive person, and there's actually science to back that up, that about 20 to 35% of the population, they take in the stimuli and the surroundings around them differently than people who aren't HSPs. Highly sensitive person, I encourage you to look up the term, look up books about it, take a test and see if maybe that's you. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. And this channel is also for introverts and for INFPs and INFJs, but not exclusively those people. But if you fit in any of those categories, or maybe none of those categories, but this channel resonates with you, then I encourage you to subscribe to my page. Look at the link below and subscribe, and also look at the card at the end of the video and subscribe to my page as well. When things mess up our minds in childhood, and the fact that we start to believe that there's something wrong with us. Maybe it goes back so far, or it's so ingrained in our minds, probably both, that we believe there's something wrong with us. And it becomes a distorted belief, and it becomes our programming. And you spend your whole life trying to unprogram and deprogram yourself, and you become frustrated because you can't figure out why your psyche won't change, why the neuroplasticity of your brain won't kick into gear, why your conditioning won't unravel, because you've probably heard the saying, the synapses that fire together wire together, and if you were wired that way when you were a kid, it feels like it's almost impossible to unwire that crap and those lies that were told to you. The ones that may have been subtle or unintentional, or maybe direct and to your face and intentional. Who knows? But whatever the reason, the people around us didn't know how to nurture us, to love us, to help us feel safe. We often get wired into thinking things about ourselves that are so ingrained. They're so ingrained in our psyches that we don't even think to question them. It's crazy because we question a lot of things that people say to us, and we don't even think to believe it. But for people who have been wired to believe, because they lived in a childhood that didn't feel safe, there was instability, there was abuse, there was neglect, there was physical, mental, or sexual abuse, whatever the case may be, those people had a feedback loop that at their times when they were malleable and they weren't set, the mind kept having this repetition of not feeling safe, anxiety, and I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me. And after a while, that gets set in our mind, and we're so young, we don't have the coping skills, the tools, or a mentor, somebody else to tell us, you didn't do anything wrong. You are not deficient. There's nothing wrong with you. And so it's like, because of the fact that it happened so young, and it happened so many times because we were immersed in it, and because there was nothing there to give us the power to challenge it, we literally begin to believe that there's something wrong with us, all the way down to the core of our being. A lot of people call that the core wounds. And most of those, or a good portion of those, come from childhood. And the core wounds basically are the things that we believe about ourselves, and they keep coming up again and again. The things that trigger us, the things that hurt us. And so I understand core wounds. I understand what some teachers have called the core wound of unworthiness. And the fact that in Western culture, it is rampant. If you go to other cultures where a lot of times the people are actually less safe, they have fewer resources, they don't know where their next meal's coming from. In some cases, they're in war-torn countries where theft and survival is just a daily way of life. They actually find that people in those cultures are more content, they feel safer, and they feel happier. And so that proves not that they're happy with that part of their lives. I would never undermine the experiences that people who can get kidnapped and murdered and starve on a daily basis and they fight just to survive go through. But there's a deeper contentment within a lot of those people. And I'm not saying that's true for everybody in these countries, or it's true for everybody in the West, that there's discontent, materialism, depression, anxiety, and all that. But it is much more rampant, and it is much more common. And what is found is that there's this core to a person that's conditioned from childhood that shapes who you are and what you believe about yourself. And you know, I understand that from experience. It feels really crappy that somebody else did something to you. You had no power to do anything to stop it. You didn't know what was being done to you. And maybe it took you 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years to fully understand that what you believe about yourself is not true. You believe there's something wrong with you. You believe that you're deficient maybe. Maybe you believe that you're not worthy. Maybe you believe good things will never happen to you. Maybe you believe that you're not worthy of love. Or maybe you believe that nobody could ever love you the way you are because you're too screwed up. But the fact is, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And even though it's very challenging and difficult and sad to deal with those issues on a daily basis, maybe you even have things that trigger anxiety, depression, PSTD, things like that. I understand. I have an issue that will come up and it will trigger my emotions. I never had this experience when I was younger, but as this relationship with these people continued to get worse and worse, and I tried to resolve it, I didn't handle it well, admittedly, I started finding that my emotions would flare up, and I have moderate severe depression and anxiety, and so it would just involuntarily come up out of me like a volcano, almost this violence. And it was like I felt rejected and unwanted and like the back burner person in that situation, and I tried to communicate with these people again and again and again how this had affected me, and it just seemed to go on deaf ears. It was like they don't even understand, even though they sit there to my face and tell me, you know, that they care about me. They don't listen to what I'm saying. They don't validate the feelings I had. But there's a couple of things wrong with my thinking when I do this. One, I feel a lot of shame when those emotions come up because sometimes other people have witnessed them, or I've talked to other people about them. And it makes it seem like, you know, people say you're crazy, you're a basket case, you're overthinking this. But what a lot of people don't know, if those emotions are coming up in you, there's a reason they're coming up in you. I'm not trying to argue for feeling sorry for yourself or dramatizing a situation, and that can happen. It's good to look in our hearts and pray and ask God to help us to discern what's going on. But if those feelings are coming up involuntarily and they're coming up from the core of your soul, where you feel like an outsider, where you feel unloved, where you feel unwanted, then that is something in your soul that's crying out for healing. And sometimes those emotions, there's nowhere for them to go except out. And they feel so bad and they're just so overwhelming. And for me, it's like a hurricane that comes over me and it takes everything away from me and I have to rebuild. And then it comes back and it takes everything again and I have to rebuild. it's not being dramatic to say that sometimes depression or an anxiety attack, and it's called an attack for a reason, can actually feel violent. And it feels like you're being violated or assaulted by something or someone, and it's coming from inside of you. And so you think, gosh, I am so screwed up. This is me. But let me tell you something. There is a you that was what God made when you were born. And when you were born, you were perfect, whole, and complete. And deep down in the core of your being, you're still that same person. You have value and you have worth, regardless of what anybody did to you. And anybody that told you, conditioned you, treated you, or ignored you or neglected you in any way, shape, or form that made you feel like a burden, that made you feel less than worthy, that made you feel less than worthy of love of the kid down the street or the cousin or the best friend or the sibling that got more love than you. Anybody that ever made you feel that way, they were wrong. And it's up to us to deal with those emotions. Even if we're left with the pieces to pick up of what they did, that sucks. That's not fair. That's one of those things where you're like, ouch. Ouch. But let me tell you something. It's like I said in the other video you can check out on my channel that is about God will heal your hurt. You sometimes have to go through it to come out of it. And sometimes you have to go down before you can go up. And there's no prescribed pace at which your healing will occur. But on the other side of that healing is peace, safety, security, love, worthiness, self-love, and know that God carries you through all of that. And that core being of who you are when God made you, when you were fearfully and wonderfully made and knitted in your mother's womb, that never changed. That identity was always there. It's like clouds covering the sun. And it's our job to peel back the layers or the clouds that cover the light inside of us that God made us all with. That light that can shine and be at peace and heal. And the only way to be able to heal that is to go through those emotions. If you have really strong bouts of depression and anxiety because of things that were done to you or because of things that happened to you, please, 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 for the love of God, literally for the love of God, get help. If you don't have money, there are support groups online, there are books, there are people that will pray for you, there are strategies you can use that will help you. And that's one thing that on this channel I want to start building resources, techniques, strategies, education, encouragement for people who suffer from all these different things. But when those emotions come up, you can't run away from them. You can't. Of course, you're going to feel some shame. It's human to feel shame when you have depression for most people. Let the shame be there. Don't push it away. Let the emotions come up in their full expression and find a safe place to let them out. If it knocks you down for a day or two, it knocks you down for a day or two. That's okay. And then you get back up. You nurture yourself in that place. Let those emotions come. The thing about emotions, and especially about anxiety and depression, which are totally different than, in a lot of ways, than just regular human emotions of frustration and happiness and anxiety and excitement and things like that we feel on a daily basis, is these can be quite unexpected and quite powerful, and unexpected things can trigger them, and they can be unpreventable, and sometimes we can prevent those kinds of things from happening, and sometimes we can't. The thing is, though, is if you push those feelings down, if you make yourself feel shame, why should you feel shame for something that was done to you that you had no say in? Now, you're not a victim, you're a survivor. And to let those emotions come over you, the way you handle that is to, if it helps, picture yourself in a boat on an ocean. The ocean is flat, like glass, like a mirror. It's peaceful. There's a big open blue sky. And you can't even see almost, you can, but you can barely see the difference between the sky and the ocean. And it's perfect peace. And in this boat, picture your emotions coming out of you in whatever form you might picture for that. And picture them being as big as they want to be. Don't push them down. Don't push them aside. Don't shame yourself. Don't tell yourself how to feel. It's like you don't let the emotions possess you. You still see that core, light person underneath that God made that is perfect, whole, and complete. Now, we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, but in Christ, we're all made perfect, whole, and complete again, like when we were born. And so, take that identity with you into that place, and let those emotions be as big as they want. Let them burn off, almost like picturing a fire that just burns. It does hurt. It hurts. Let yourself feel that. Let it be as big as it is, and don't try to push it away. The thing is let yourself be held in this place of pure love that the Holy Spirit is holding you. And He's an embodied presence of perfect love. What Christ did for you is that embodied presence of perfect love. And it may take 5 seconds, it may take 5 minutes, it may take 35 minutes, but just let that slowly dissipate. You're not really looking for a specific outcome. You're simply sitting with and being in the place, the emotions, where you are, and accepting. Accepting doesn't mean you like it. It just means that you say yes to what is. And saying yes to what is, it's ironic, actually allows it to become freed out of your body. What a lot of people fail to realize about trauma and anxiety and depression is that it's literally emotional thought embedded into your body. And when you let that out in the right way, you can't let it have you. That's the thing. You got to be in it without letting it completely take you over. And then when you're in that place, it passes over you and it passes through you. And that's where you peel another layer back. It's another layer of healing. And it could be that it takes 2 or 3 times to overcome something. It could take 200 or 300 times. But And I know you can't just spend your whole life just processing emotions, and there are times and places to do that, of course. But in this situation, let yourself use this technique to help you to let those emotions go through you. And then when they've gone past, you can turn inward and to see where they have gone past. Only you will remain. That actually comes from one of my favorite books, Dune. Paul Atreides, the main character, recites the litany against fear. He says, where fear has gone, something about fear has gone past. Where fear has gone, I will look to my inward eye, and only I will remain. Well, you and the love of God, the pure you that is perfect, whole, and complete, that is worth something and worthy simply because you are, simply because you exist. You don't have to do anything, have any characteristics, have a certain amount of material possessions, a certain amount of accomplishments, or look a certain way to have value. Christ died for you. And if you were the only person in the entire universe, Christ would have not even hesitated any less than he did with all the people in the universe he died for. And he would have died for you and you alone. Take that in. Take that in and think about that. If Christ and you were the only people who had ever lived, I know that's not logical, but just humor me. If you were, Christ would have died for you and you alone simply because he loves you, and Christ doesn't love anything that's worthless. Therefore, God made you. Your value is intrinsic. And so if you believe about yourself that you're unworthy or worthless, that is a lie from the enemy. And work through your emotions and get that garbage out. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Show yourself compassion. And I guarantee you that over time, with the right resources, with persistence, with never, ever, 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 ever giving up, you will feel lighter and freer and healthier. Maybe all that stuff will never completely go away. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. But emotional healing is a mystery in some ways. And in some ways, it's best not to try not to completely understand it. Understand the process, but also accept that there's a lot about it that's mysterious, because God is working in His own mysterious ways through you and in you to help you to heal. So you can reach out to other people and help them heal as well. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you like this video, please feel free to subscribe to my page. I encourage you to check out my other videos and check out the subscribe button, hit subscribe. And if you have any specific requests for videos about things in this area and with this theme, then let me know and I'll try to make a video that covers this. I do work besides this, so I will try to create videos as often and as regular as possible, but I will keep making videos because I want to eventually do more of this. And I really feel like this is my calling, and I want to use my own experiences and extensive self-training and education in this area to be able to help people, to help Christians. But anybody, whether you're Christian or not, you are welcome, and God loves you, and I'm here for you, and I want to help you. So I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and I'll see you in the next video.